Okay, guys, here we go. Um, yeah, things haven't, well, I was going to say things haven't looked up any since our conversation yesterday, but no one expected that things were going to brighten in a day. Uh, lots of, excuse me, guys, lots of stories, obviously, coming out of, okay, gotta go back to that later. Excuse me, sorry, guys. A lot of stories coming out of the Ukraine, some verified, some still rumored. Hello, Dilly, and Z Man, and Joe, and King Gigasmon, Jonas, and GA, and Chrome is back in with us, and Frostbite, and Cthulhu's Abode, and Indo. Uh, I think most of you probably by now have heard about the 13 Ukrainian soldiers on Snake Island that were killed by a Russian warship, and in one last great final act of defiance, told them to go fuck themselves. That being the Russians on board the ship. And to watch, it almost becomes, it almost, reading social media during things like this and seeing the amount and sheer number of the objectively stupid people that are out there is just mind numbing. It really is. It makes you, especially with all this going on in the background, you read through some of what goes on in social media, and you just shake your head. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get why humankind is in the shape it's in, because there's idiots everywhere, absolute, complete, and utter fools throughout. Well, in fairness, Lix, we did have a free for all Friday already today, so it's not like we've abandoned anything else. I think a lot of people are actually really interested in what's going on uh, in Russia or in the Ukraine right now. Sinister Eye says Russia is mostly sending conscripted soldier, and we're told that they were just going on training in Belarus. All of a sudden, they were told they were invading. This fucked up. And again, Sinister Eyes, we don't, we can't know for a fact that's true. Does that sound out of the realm of possibility? Certainly not. I've said over and over, one of the most, that's, and Jonas, I'll tell you, I've been on the internet a long time, but it's never been to this degree. It's never been as bad as this. But no, neither has the split in our nation. Here in America, and a lot of things have gotten substantially worse. Um, oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. I lost track of what I was saying. Yeah, could they have thought they were doing something else? Yeah, as I was saying, and I've been saying all along, I think one of the most major concerns in all this is the mental state, and as well as the physical state of the individual soldiers within the Russian military. Because if we believe things that have been reported for some time and are certainly easy enough to believe given the state of the Russian economy, that the soldiers are not well fed, they're certainly not well paid, and that morale tends to be extremely low. As I've said over and over, this is one of the big concerns to me. Is Putin has to realize, if that is the case, Putin has to realize he cannot engage in a protracted ground war. He cannot have his troops out there for long periods of time because of the situation and their mindset. And that is intimidating, because you fear that his knowledge of that is what would push him to go to the next level of warfare, because he won't have other options. He'll fear that he will lose badly if it remains a boots on the ground war. Yeah, and as Z-Man says, what an inconvenience. Couldn't go to Italy. Yeah, for those of you who didn't catch, um, Joy Behar's lamenting that this was all of what was going on in Ukraine was really putting a crimp in her vacation plans, and she was not happy about that. Chrome says, by the way, did you see that the Biden administration shared intelligence on the Russian troop buildup near Ukraine with China 3 months ago asking for help. Then China said no and gave all the info to Russia. I haven't seen that yet. Really? Would it shock me? No, it really wouldn't. It, I I'm not a. You guys know I we have hyper partisan everything here in America. So if you're on team left, if you're on team Biden, Biden can do no wrong, and that's just the way things are drawn up in this country. And the same goes for team right. For me, being willing to go see both sides of it, I have no confidence in Biden. I am just hoping that his military advisors have sway over the decisions that are made, because I think if it's left up to Biden, I think this could. I don't think it'll go well. Jonas says the most effed up thing, in my opinion, is that the EU is basically leaving the Ukraine to fight by themselves because it's safer for the rest of Europe. The only things coming are sanctions, which will take time. It's a tough spot, Jonas. I completely get the frustration. I understand the frustration. I empathize with the frustration. I feel it myself. But you do have to look at it in the bigger picture. Would a major involvement by the EU and by the US, that has a very significant chance of setting off a major, major conflict. The potential to set off World War III, particularly with the erratic way that Putin has behaved so far. So it's a risk reward thing. I completely get it. It's horrible to have to sit here, especially when you're an American and you still have the number one military in the world, and have to just sit here and watch what's happening to these poor Ukrainian people. But you have to look at the bigger picture too, and can we afford to make that engagement? Kristen says, and I believe with a touch of sarcasm, Biden is an extremely articulate and psychologically sound individual. We are all in good hands. And again, that's I don't take any great pleasure in not having faith in the president. I don't care if I voted for him or not. For me, once a president is in, regardless of what you feel about that person, you root for them to do well because it's in the best interest of the country, and by extension, the best interest for me and my family and my friends and my loved ones and a big hunk of you guys. I mean, all of us. But I just have no faith in him. None. Yeah, I've Chrome was mentioning something about volunteer mercenaries. I'm reading stuff about that as well. Now, again, you, guys, you're welcome to bring up anything you want, but unlike our mainstream medias, I do like to define to people, anybody that's listening to this, what we know to have been fact, what's been verified, and what is still, no matter how strong a rumor it may be, what is still rumored. And that's why you'll hear me doing that every so often, just to be fair to everybody. Excuse me. Putin has a lot of uncomfortable parallels to Hitler. Yeah, Cthulhu. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people seeing and making those connections right now. This doesn't, to me anyway, this doesn't appear. This doesn't have the same feel of what Putin has been all along with being the master strategist. And he is again, as I've said over and over, you don't get to the top of the food chain in Russia without being a master strategist, without being able to play the game exquisitely. And he's acting more like either somebody who's just simply lost it, someone who just doesn't give a fuck anymore, doesn't care. I don't know. Or maybe a combination of both those things. It's really unhinged the way he's going about things. The consequences the world has never seen. That's what Simon, that's what I'm alluding to. To even start making proclamations like that. And things that are coming, not necessarily, anything that comes from a Russian representative, to me, you can count it as coming from Putin. Because if you misrepresent what he wants, I don't imagine you're around for very long anyway. So, when you have people starting to talk about the possibility of taking Sweden, I mean, what the hell is going on here? And you have Putin himself saying just what we were talking about. It'll be consequences like the world has never seen before. We all know what he's hinting at there. That's to basically have led with that. That's where he's at right now. I'm going to do this, and if anybody stands up to me, let's go. Let's nuke it out. That's what he's trying to infer there. That's insanity. That's absolute craziness. Rowan says Putin is seriously Hitler too. I can't believe how no one is stopping him. First he helped destroy my country, and now Ukraine. I loathe this person so much. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rowan. Your home country is Syria, correct? And yeah, and again, the rest of the world is in a tough spot. If the rest of the world, if the NATO nations got together and wanted to fight Putin, what I can glean from what I read from military minds and experts in the field, the likely outcome would be, yes, the NATO alliance would win, but at a tremendous cost. It would probably mean the extinction of Russia, but major, major catastrophe throughout the world. And is he going to push it to that point? I mean, this is bad enough what's going on in the Ukraine. What does come next? And even if it's not, if he has further plans, and I hesitate to say this, but I think he does. I think either one of two things will happen. I think when all is settled one way or another in the Ukraine, he will just continue on trying to power his way through, doing whatever he wants to do, taking whatever land he feels like he can take. Or there will be a significant amount of time where he lays back again. But I don't think, and I hope I'm wrong, I don't think he's done at the Ukraine. Svetlana, I'm sorry, Svetlana Kokoreva. Hopefully I said that close to right. I believe Putin's sense of reality is broken now. That's what it seems. He's been the president for too long. It's professional deformation. Plus, he looks physically and mentally unhealthy. Svetlana, and that's where I've been leaning. Just because, again, trust me, I'm just a schlub with opinions like everyone else. I'm no expert. I follow politics and have for a long time, and this just doesn't appear to be classic Putin to me. This is way more unhinged. As much as you could always make the case he's always been unhinged, but he's been unhinged in a very strategic, purposeful manner. And this is, wow, this just seems to be like Putin that's saying, I don't give a fuck what happens. He's gone, I think. Matt says Putin needs to be taken out. The best possible, as far as I'm concerned, I think you guys will agree with me, the best possible outcome of this is that enough Russian people stand up to take him down. That would be, and that's us trains. That's just an almost insurmountable climb. I am heartened just by the fact that you see the video and pictures of this number of Russian people out in the streets protesting already, when you know what the risk they're taking is crazy. That's not like protesting here in the United States. The risks are much greater. There's a real good chance if you're loud enough in your protest, you'll never be seen again. We know that to be the case. And so there is definitely a lot of fear in Russia. There is definitely a significant number of people who are at the end of their rope with all this too, obviously. Excuse me. Just Rick says, yeah, but who's going to snuff out Putin of all people? I don't know enough. I don't think any of us truly know enough about the inner workings of Russian bureaucracy or Russian politics at the top. But one would imagine the only person that could take him out would be somebody within his own circle, wouldn't you think? I mean, depending on what his plans may be, who knows? It's quite possible nobody knows what his plans are except Putin himself. But wouldn't that be the best guess? Is somebody within his circle says this is crazy? It's it's got to stop, and is willing to do it. I don't know. We have no way of knowing how the powerful people in Putin's circle are viewing all of this. Truth. Last Saint said, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading that and it popped up on me. The oligarchs have a lot of power as well. It's like Game of Thrones. That's a good analogy. That's a really good analogy. Hi, Ed. Good to see you. Putin looking like he took a few words from Trump's playbook. What would have happened had Putin done this during Trump's presidency? How much a variable would Trump have been in this situation? That's an interesting question. My own personal take on it is I think he didn't make a move during Trump's presidency, not because he was afraid of Trump. I think Putin's too far gone to be afraid of anybody, and I think he's got that, he feels like he's ascended to God level. But I think he was afraid of Trump's unevenness. Because we know now, the left will come at Trump all the time, and he's best buddies with Putin. And of course that gets way, way overstated, but everything does. But it wouldn't even matter. If they were right and Trump and Putin were best friends, we've already seen Trump demonstrate over and over and over. If you hurt his little ego, if you make him feel bad about anything, if he thinks you're the least bit traitorous in his mind, which it doesn't take much to get there, all bets are off and he'll come at you. So I think Putin is well aware of that. And I think he knew that taking an action like this with Trump in office, there was a lot more chance of the major conflict breaking out immediately than there is with the current administration. And that's just based on what we saw from Donald Trump. We know that. We know how he goes right off the deep end as soon as he feels like somebody has disrespected him. So that's why I think we didn't see anything during the Trump years. Excuse me, guys. Chrome says, everything he's done made sense to me so far until he started hitting foreign merchant ships. Yeah, that was, oof. It's evil, but there was logic to it. The merchant ship sounds stupidly antagonistic. What is going on with that? Excuse me, guys. I've been reading all over the place today while I'm removing snow and doing 100 other things. Has there been any type of word on these ships he hit? Now, what was it? It was a Japanese ship. What was it? Was it Yugoslavian or Hungarian as well? What the hell is that about? And it doesn't, if that was an accident, that's an unacceptable accident. Dropping any type of weapon on a ship from another sovereign nation is an act of war, on purpose or not. Lick says, honestly, the other day I would have said that saying World War III is coming was silly, but now those Japanese and Spanish ships got sunk. I'm not so sure. Yeah, I'm with you, Licks. Well, let's put it this way, and I take no pleasure in saying this. I think as far as odds go, the odds of a major confrontation or of World War III taking place are significantly, extremely higher today than they were just 2 days ago. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Double D says, sounds like U.S. propaganda. Okay, Double D, you're everybody's welcome to say what they want, but be specific. What sounds like U.S. propaganda? If you want to actually be part of the conversation, or because it's with stuff like that, I have no way of knowing if you're just a run-of-the-mill useless troll or if you actually want to contribute something. What sounds like U.S. propaganda? The Last Saint says, I'm 22, so I won't be surprised if the Selective Service is ready. As I've said, anything's possible. I don't see that happening because I think our military is. I'm assuming you're in America. Well, yeah, you said selective service. Um, I think our military is well staffed enough for whatever may come because, again, I don't think there will be a protracted ground war in this because of the situation with the Russian army. Unfortunately, I think it would escalate rather quickly. And even at the very beginning, if things get heated, I think you're going to be moving to technological warfare in a hurry. I think it's going to be a case of trying to take out the other guy's power grid. I think we're going to find out what our military budget has been spent on. And that's when we can hope that I'm right with what I've suspected all along, and that a big part of that budget was going to things that we'll never know about unless something got dire. Wonder Man says, already spent 8 years in the army, so I'm good. Yeah, I again, just my opinion. I don't think there's any threat of a draft being instated. And when you think of it, um, the merchant ships and the Ace Fighter. The Ace Fighter, I know, was not. The Ace Fighter was some of the video they were supposedly playing of him was not video of an Ace Fighter. It was of a video game. That's not to say he doesn't exist. I don't know what of that has been verified. The merchant ships, again, if you know that to be propaganda, by all means, link me to where you found this proof. All I've seen so far are pictures of ships in flames. I have not, and I looked, I have not been able to find anyone disputing the fact that that's real. Now, there has been some disputing on the Ghost of Kiev there, but I have found nothing disputing the fact that those ships were actually attacked. So if you actually have something to back that up, that it's just propaganda that the ships were hit, by all means, hit us with it. If not, you're just saying you have no idea, just like the rest of us don't, and that's what you wish to be the case, which is useless in conversation. Willie says, if Putin is threatening Finland and Sweden to not join NATO, means that Putin knows he can't take on NATO, but then again, he sunk those ships. This is exactly what I mean, Willie, by completely uneven and unlike Putin. This, again, no matter how much of a madman the dude is, he's always been strategically sound, solid, scary, so much so. But this just doesn't seem like traditional Putin. As Svetlana observed earlier, the way he's acting, the way he's appearing, is really a cause for concern. AZN says, living near a base, several Black Hawk UH-60s flying around. Also, yes, 2 ships have been shot at. Pray for the Ghost of Kiev. It's Cypher from Ace Combat. Oh, Cypher from Ace. Gotcha. Yeah, see, it's so hard to keep up with everything, what's been verified, what hasn't. I know the whole thing with Snake Island, of course, has been verified. But again, unless I know something to have been verified by the powers that be, that people that can actually provide true verification, I have to treat them as rumor so far. But again, when somebody comes in and says something like that, well, it's propaganda. Okay, well, where's, just like I'm telling you, I don't have proof it actually happened. Where's your proof that it didn't happen if you're saying it's propaganda? Because otherwise, again, it's just more internet stupidity where you want your desires to be facts, so you present them as such. Yeah, Guyver, I've heard a lot of people saying, and it makes sense. Guyver is saying, I only caught the tail end of it, but he's saying like brain cancer or otherwise something terminal. A lot of people have been expressing that sentiment, and it makes sense that a lot of people believe that maybe Putin does have some sort of serious illness, serious disease, and his time was limited, and he just, as I said, just doesn't give a shit anymore. Simon says, Putin is strategic. He did the same thing back in 2014, right? And took Crimea, and no one did anything about it back then. I'm 100% sure now that taking Crimea was a test to see if the West would do anything. Yeah, Simon, I think, but if is my memory is not the best. We all know that. But if memory serves, again, Crimea, there were never any proclamations of taking actions unlike anything ever seen before. He didn't have his minions out there talking about, well, maybe we'll just let the space station drop on somebody. This is just like over the top anime villain stuff here. And to me, that's not like Putin. And given, and again, he's not a young guy. It could just be natural aging. But given he doesn't look strong like he used to, who knows? Michael says, to play devil's advocate, Ukraine could have been a spot where Biden, USUN, could have placed nuclear missiles right next to him in the future. Oh, sure. That's absolutely true. But the problem there, Michael, is you're talking about a what if. And Putin, one thing's for sure, he knows the world dynamic. He is very involved in world politics, especially U.S. politics. No matter which president did it, I guarantee you a president in the United States who, without provocation, decided to place nukes in the Ukraine would be out immediately. People would be looking to oust him or her at that moment. We wouldn't even be waiting. We wouldn't even be waiting. We'd be going 25th Amendment. We wouldn't even be waiting for an election. And Putin knows that. So basically, though, what you're saying is, and this is where it becomes uneven. Yes, Putin could be afraid of that. So because you're afraid of that, you proactively kill a bunch of people and take a neighboring nation? I mean, he has satellites too. We're not just going to be able to slide some nukes in there under the radar. It'd be similar to what happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis, except reversed. And Putin would make a stand then. So that just doesn't make sense to me, though. I don't think he was that threatened. I don't think there was that much of a legitimate threat. This seems to be Putin just saying, for whatever reason, I have no fucks to give anymore. I'm going to take what I want. Simon says, I agree he has been acting out of character during this war, but the link between Crimea and the invasion of Ukraine can't be denied. Oh, no. I agree. And Putin has, listen, it's no secret. Putin has always wanted the reformation of the USSR. I just think the way he's going about this, he was much more tactical with Crimea than he is here. Here it's just like, you know what? I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I'm doing what I want. And again, the blustering, the talking about, well, now you're going to follow line, whoever it is, Switzerland, you will not join NATO or there'll be a price to pay. That's insanity. That's asking for a major conflict. The West, the NATO, whether they're a NATO nation or not, we can't sit back and allow that. You can't. Asian says, Trump wasn't dumb, made Space Force for this purpose. Well, I've always said, Asian, and in fairness, Trump obviously was in office when they put Space Force into place, but the space element of our military has been around for many decades. I mean, going back to Reagan and probably even before. Excuse me. So that's what I mean when I say we hope that in a push comes to shove in a major conflict, as I've always felt, that a large part of our military budget, that massive military spending, is going to things that we will never even know about unless there's a major confrontation. The things that we would rather not know about, but now we may need. Bakugo Bean says, I feel for the people in Ukraine. Absolutely. I mean, we have, I've had some conversations in private message over at the Goosh at our Patreon. I've had some people right here in the comments talking to us. We have a significant number of people here from Russia. Svetlana was in here earlier. We have people from the Ukraine. And I was in conversation with one of those people in private messaging this morning, and again, I consider you guys to be my friends. I spend a lot of time with you guys. We get to know each other. So what? It's through the internet. I mean, friend is a friend, and it pains me a lot. It pains me a lot to see what people who I'm used to just having such a good time with. Again, like over at the Gooch, we all watch our anime together, and usually when I interact with these people, it's always to laugh at this or kvetch about that went wrong in anime, or why they make this decision, or just being anime nerds, and to have to have conversations that have turned so dark is just, yeah, it's not fun. Michael says, from videos I've seen of Russian news in the past, Putin has mentioned that the U.S. is run by men in black, Illuminati, and not the Prez. Fear hit. The thing with Putin is, too, because as again, he's been such a classic strategist forever, you never know if and he may fully believe that, but you never know if he really believes that, or if that's what he needs people to think he believes. He's so hard to judge. Chrome says, "Oh, lovely. Breaking. UN Security Council resolution condemning Russia for invasion of Ukraine fails due to Russian veto. China abstains." That's why. I mean, come on. The Security Council, as far as taking any action here, is yeah, yeah. Russia wasn't going to veto that or anything. Come on, that's a joke. Minicast says it makes sense. It's similar to Hitler because Hitler was in World War I and he should have died twice but didn't. I recall the time he got sprayed with mustard gas, he was fine until something messed with his head. It's scary, the similarities. But yeah, Chrome, to even put forth that resolution is just absolute silliness. Double D says, in my opinion, we should be currently focused on China because their most likely mindset is to divert U.S. attention to Eurasia and then invade Taiwan to cripple the world economy. Well, a lot of people are saying that, and that's absolutely that's a legitimate fear. Now, again, this is just opinion. My opinion on that, though, as I said, I think China and Xi are way more comfortable than Putin and Russia. So in other words, I think there's a lot more to be lost. I keep talking about Putin and how it just seems like he doesn't give a fuck anymore. I think Xi gives a lot of fucks. Xi likes being the top man. He likes being a major player on the world stage. He likes the way things are structured in his country. I don't think he'll overplay his hand. He doesn't, my opinion, just my opinion, he doesn't want a war. He doesn't want anything that could remove him from power or worse. Putin, I'm not so sure of. Svetlana says that just so sucks that people hate Russians even more now. Like separate politics and normal life, please. Svetlana, I agree with you 100%. People hear me say that all the time here, and I probably should say it more. To me, it's common sense, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. Yes, you have to remember when things like this go on, there's no sense in hating Russian people. Nobody gets victimized by Putin more than Russian people. It's not Russian people we're up against. It's the Russian government. It's the same thing with COVID. China unleashed that on the world and should have consequence for it. The Chinese government. There's no sense in hating on Chinese people. Again, Chinese people are hamstrung by Chinese government more than anybody else in the world. It's so important to differentiate the two. To go out there and be outwardly spew vitriol towards Russian people because of this is asinine. I'm willing to bet a majority, just based on common sense, I gotta believe a majority of Russian people, and any of them that are able to have full knowledge of the situation. Do you honestly think that the average rank and file Russian person is like, God damn it, yes, we need to go retake Ukraine, bring it back into the fold, and if it means World War III, so be it. If it means we're going to get hit with sanctions to where we're already destitute and now we may not eat at all, yes, let's go. Of course, they're not saying that. Any of them that understand the situation, they're being victimized, just like the Ukrainians are. Ventura says, "Hey Curtis, if you or anyone else wants some good background info, Armies of Russia's War in Ukraine by Mark Galeotti is a good place to start. Some good background info. Armies of Russia's War in Ukraine by Mark Galeotti. Good. Yeah, I'm always looking for whatever time I have. I find myself now, even when I have videos rendering or whatever, I'm always looking for more stuff to read, more stuff to listen to. Absolutely." GA says, "Did you hear that Trump says why Russia didn't invade Ukraine under his term is because he told them he would bomb Moscow. Putin apparently acted like he didn't believe him. Trump said, 'Try me.'" Yeah, the thing is, Jay, you got to take what Trump says with a grain of salt, though. I mean, you really do. We know he blusters more than probably anybody I've ever known. And like I said, I fully admit I voted for him, but I vote on whose policy ideals more closely align to my own ideals, not to who I like the most as a person. But anything Trump says as, telling a story secondhand, I could have happened, might just be part of his imagination too. Svetlana says, "You see, even Russian nationalists don't understand what to think, so people just argue and get angry." I understand that, Svetlana, too, because again, you're dealing with a government that does their best to squelch the information that people can see. I mean, we don't appreciate a lot of times here in America and in the West how fortunate we are to have access to news and opinions from all over the world, even our own mainstream media outlets, they're garbage, but they rarely come out and lie to you. They spin stories and they only tell you half the story. But the good thing is, if you watch both sides, you can get both halves and make your own decisions. We're talking about countries, Russia and China, where the government decides what you should get to know. AZN says, "If his end is near, tell him I got a cure for his cancer. Toss him in the basement of Chernobyl with the elephant's foot. It's radioactive corium cancer." Yeah, yeah. They took Chernobyl, so I'm all for that. That'd be a great place for him. Michael says, "Issue with sanctions. China could give Russia everything." Yeah. Well, China's a concern when it comes to sanctions. Absolutely, not everything. They won't be able to replace all the damage done to the Russian economy by any stretch. But yeah, I mean, China was doing the same thing with North Korea. Well, they still are, to get around sanctions up there. Double D says, "But Pooh Bear might be desperate enough to take Taiwan because of China's rising middle class, which will cause major economic stagnation." No, I understand what you're saying. And again, when I say what I think about Xi, it's again just opinion. I certainly don't have any insider info. I just don't think, and I know exactly what you mean about their economy was on fire, for lack of a better term, for a couple of decades, and it's definitely cooled. So there is some economic strife in China, but I just and again, I hope I'm right, but I don't know if I am. I don't think Xi is in a position where he wants to invite that kind of potential fallout. Again, that's probably a poor choice of words, fallout. Diddley says Putin needs a Snickers. He's not the same when he's hungry. Unfortunately, I think he's always hungry, pal. Chrome says, "Yeah, China is funding Russia through BRICS. If you want to cripple Russia, you need to cut China off as well. Xi is getting drunk on power after getting away with COVID. He's calling for a return to Mao." Oh, that you guys who are with me regularly here know that just has just pissed me right off. That we spent 2 years fighting this virus, and instead of China ever having to answer for it, or even answer for the fact that they wouldn't give the rest of the world any information on it initially or anything, and have covered everything up, Instead of that, all we have, it seems, are Western nations going, be careful what you say about China. Oh, don't use derogatory terms. Don't call it kung fu. Who cares what you call it? They unleashed a fucking deadly pandemic on the world. Now, whether or not it was created in a lab or came from one of those shitty ass wet markets, who gives a flying fuck where? It came from them. And in either case, it was their fault that this many people died and this many people got sick. And we're supposed to care if feelings get hurt about terminology that's used for it? Who gives a fuck? Yes, it's bad when ignorant morons actually go out and try and victimize Chinese people because of the coronavirus. That's just, again, as I said, it's idiotic. Chinese people are the ones who get victimized by the Chinese government. But to just give him a flyer because of that, and basically it's what he's gotten so far, is insanity. Well, it's not just because of that, too. It's because we all know, hey, ask the NBA, ask the Hollywood movie machine. They all want them Chinese dollars. You gotta be careful. Don't want Winnie the Pooh to get too upset with you. I mean, you just, it's like, well, yeah, genocide is bad and everything, but boy, we got a new movie release in this week. The Sammy G Show says Poland deserves praise for taking in Ukrainian immigrants. I agree. They would take 1 million if necessary. Absolutely, Sammy G. And what I know of Poland too, they are very, very, very tight about immigration. Always have been. And that's absolutely 100% they're right. I think it served them very well, being very tight with immigration. So them being that willing to just say, yeah, come on over here, we'll help, they deserve all the credit in the world. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, Wolf says, imagine how much your feelings would hurt if your family members died from this virus. Exactly. And it's just like, well, he did it, but let's not hurt anybody's feelings over it. It seems to be the reaction, the world reaction. Willie says Putin is soon going to find every major country in the world after him because he's pissing off nations by the dozen at this point. Yeah. Obviously, the outliers would be North Korea and China. I'll tell you, the only thing, this version of Putin, who knows? He could end up pissing off China too. North Korea is just a world unto its own of idiocy. But that would work out well for the rest of the world if Putin did piss off Xi enough that Xi is willing to do more than just abstain on a vote. Azian says, stuff we're seeing is better than any movie / game. What stuff? The stuff over there, the stuff over there, seeing the just the absolute destruction and the carnage over there, that it's not better than anything to me. Chrome says, feel you're being naive on China. Honestly, you can feel that way. She is calling for a return to Mao, dragon-style politics, which is chest beating and going on the offensive. He's been taking other countries' territory again. Chrome, I told you. You don't, none of us have the answers. I'm telling you what my feeling is. Taiwan, I think, is a major line in the sand for a lot of people because of what that represents to the rest of the world, them being in control of Taiwan. And I just don't think he has the stomach for it right now. I told you. I could be wrong. I don't know what more I can say to express that to you. Solara says, I've heard Putin's invasion of Ukraine is making Winnie the Pooh pissed. Winnie's a businessman and wants to make shitloads, and Putin's becoming more of a headache rather than an ally on that. Yeah, I don't know if that's true, Solaris, but if I try and put myself in Winnie's position, yeah, I would think so, because again, he's trying to keep an economy was doing well for quite some time. He wants to get it re-rolling. And yes, this would be a major bump in the road for him, without a doubt. Chrome says, did you see Soros is now calling Xi out for COVID and his recent actions? No, I didn't. I'm surprised. I feel you may start seeing the tide turn on how the media treats China. That would be great. That would be deserving. No, I didn't see that. I didn't see Soros called him out. That's saying something. I'm really surprised. Flamin' Forster says, "You think Biden will start a draft again?" Do I think so? No. No. Again, is anything possible? Yes, for a number of reasons. One, as I said, I think any major confrontation would be fought with technology, and any ground confrontation, I think we are more than well enough stocked, or well enough armed with troops. Also, what you have to factor into it, and let's face it, politics always plays a huge role. Think about it here in America. Do you want to be the president that reinstates a draft and gets people's kids pulled into the military? You're done. I'll, you know, again, especially nowadays, it's not like the previous world wars where you needed to have huge amounts of manpower to fight the war to keep your freedom. Now, whether or not we keep our freedom is going to be based on a lot of series of ones and zeros, much more than boots on the ground. So do you want to be that president? I don't see it happening. Really? ODV says Anonymous also threatened Russia. Did they really? Yeah. Well, for once I could be on Anonymous' side. Go get them. Chrome says, I get that. And I think China would struggle to take Taiwan even without intervention because of their strong naval defense system. Truth. I didn't think about that. But I feel they're watching the response in Ukraine closely as a test. Oh, that part I agree with. Yeah, that part I agree with. Yeah, they're watching to see how weak the response may be. Yes, that I do agree with. And even in my, as I said, even in my take on it, I'm not saying they won't do it. I'm saying I don't think he wants to do that right now because of where he is in the, the world scheme of things as opposed to where Putin is. I'm not saying I don't think it would ever happen. I'm just saying I don't think I see it in the immediate future. But again, could happen tomorrow. I could be wrong. What the hell do I know? GTA Gamer says, if we go to war, I want you giving white sticky stuff. I will support all you guys and girls with all the sticky stuff you want. And I will be concerned about those of you who want it. I'll be like, okay, if it does something for you. Anonymous says, I try to do my best, guys. Joe says, not a matter of ones and zeros, more like a number of nuclear stuff you can send at each other. Putin already warned Emmanuel Macron that Russia has nuclear bombs. So yeah, and that's how you launch nuclear weapons, is with a series of ones and zeros. That's what I was alluding to. That and beyond nuclear weapons, how do we know? Trust me, both Russia and the United States would love and have been working towards the opportunity to ground one another's nukes or take one another offline using those ones and zeros. If that were the case, and I guess I would doubt either one can do it to the other, but if we had it in our back pocket that we feel confident we can sabotage Russians' nuclear weapons and take them offline, then that is the ultimate war of ones and zeros, because that would end the war. No one says you've heard of bread lines. Now we're starting sticky stuff lines. Oren says, still not worried about 70-year-old nukes that have probably been kept in awful storage conditions and probably don't work properly anymore. Yeah, I think, I will say this though, Oren, I agree with you. A lot of their armaments are dated. However, if you do believe Putin, and again, how much can you believe? I do think they've been spending way more, just from his saber rattling and everything, they've probably been spending way more on upgrading their nuclear arsenal. And you see how proud he was of his hypersonic missiles. Then they let on to the rest of the world. That's why it always cracks me up, because you'll see, especially with all this going on, you'll see those graphs pointing out that, America spends more on the military than all these countries combined, and then they include China and Russia in there like they actually have real legitimate numbers. So come on. None of us have any idea how much they spend on their military. None of us have any idea of any of the true inner workings of those nations. And people will hold on to those graphs like, here it is. Look, it's right. It's right in pretty colors. It's got to be right. What the fuck? You don't know what they spend. We were talking about that Smoky Loki. Did you see the video of the Russian warship ordering Ukrainians Ukrainian soldiers on an island to stand down. Soldiers told the warship to go after themselves. I have it called up. I assume probably most all of you guys have seen it. Let me know in the chat if you guys haven't. If any of you haven't seen that, if you want me to show it to you, I can pull it up on screen. It actually disturbs me, and that takes a lot to do that. And what the Ukrainian soldier says at first is really haunting to me. He says something along the lines of, I think he says, "This is it," when the ship makes contact with them. Let's see. The Russian troops are right outside the Ukrainian capital. I heard they got to the outskirts. I had heard, Wolfpaw. You guys haven't seen it? I'll show it to you. I mean, there's no copyright issues. It's all over the internet. Hold on. I know I have it called up here. Just let me find where, and I'll put it on screen for you guys. Hold on a second here. All right, let me grab that. I'll play this for you guys quick. Hopefully it's big enough for you guys to be able to see the captions. And here we go. This is it. And that was it. Were you guys able to read that? I should have read the well, there's more to that ODV. Yes, they did. That has been verified that they all did get killed after that. Oh, just giant balls. You guys got to understand. I know a lot of people have been saying that excuse me, I'm sorry, that they should have just surrendered. But those soldiers know better than any of us what their odds of survival were. And they probably have a really good idea of how they could expect to be treated. And they may have made the decision that instant death is superior to what they'd be facing if they were captured. It's easy to say, oh, you should have just surrendered. And it's entirely possible, too, they didn't know any of that. And they would rather die than surrender their country. It's entirely possible as well. Excuse me. Flame Enforcer says, I don't think Ukraine will last to Monday. I don't know, pal. Initially, when this started, I would have agreed with you. But I'll tell you, they're putting up some resistance. Russia has taken some hits. The Ukraine is just insanely overmatched. But they're fighting. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Chrome says, by the way, it's a little too long to see at the moment. It's 2 minutes for your Soros statement on sheet. Okay, then what I'll do, Chrome, I'm gonna open that in the window and then just hold on to it because that shocks me. Let me just pause it.
Score.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep that window open so I can watch it when the stream ends. Then, because I am really surprised to hear Soros call them out. Really surprised. Yeah, exactly, Lex. Surrender to what? Being tortured, executed, and thrown in the sea as opposed to going down like legends. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. It was the case. But regardless, you just got to have giant balls to do that. And if you're going to go out, they went out as legends. And trust me, not that the Ukrainians needed more motivation, but stuff like that is going to rally the troops like unbelievable. Double D says there is an excellent video from Peak Prosperity about lab leak, which has alarming evidence that shows the NIH-funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan and that the virus has artificial qualities. Yeah, I've heard details such as that before myself, And again, a lot of it goes over my head. And then too, when you get into those, they always start talking about stuff that's unsubstantiated, so we don't know for sure. But all of that is on the table to me. Every every possible scenario is on the table because China covered it all up, so we don't have a real paper trail. China covered everything up. We don't know exactly what went on. My guess is, because we don't know, I lean towards thinking that lab had something to do with it. I mean, that is a hell of a coincidence that it came right out of an area with a lab doing that kind of research. But I don't know that to be the case. Moneymore says, was it specified how they died? I have seen pictures of what's left of buildings on that island, and it's not much. It's total annihilation. Guyver says, notice how Putin went from no negotiations to putting out feelers for talks because this is proving to be harder than he thought. I hope so. That would be the best possible solution. The best possible, or I should say, resolution would be that Putin feels like, and I don't think this is going to happen, but Putin feels like he made his stand. He made a point of some sort. I don't know. I think he's got to get somewhere that he thinks he can put his hat on. He made a statement before he would do that. But I just want it to be over. Again, this hits so much closer to home to me because of you guys. I mean, we have such a great group internationally here and people from everywhere, and it hurts. I mean, I'm not gonna mention any even screen names because I don't know. I don't divulge people's names when I have private conversations in PMs. But it really does. I mean, it hurts me right in the chest to have conversations with you guys and having people tell me, well, with the way things are in my country right now, I don't know how often I'll be able to be around and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, don't fucking worry about me and don't worry about us. We just want you to come back and be safe. That's all. The Mad says, in your opinion, why does the Nazi troop in Ukraine called Azov? I've heard about this. I've read about it. Have been able to massacre Russian minorities without any repercussions, and even have. I'm not sure what you were saying at the end there. I don't have answers for you. I will say this though. There are groups that are undesirables and dirtbags in every nation, and you're right. No, hey. I don't think anybody's trying to say in this situation that everything done in the Ukraine since they separated from the USSR was on the up and up, or that everything they did was right. I don't think anybody's saying that. But I also don't believe there is anything that justifies exactly what's going on right now. That's exactly what I've been saying, Svetlana. She says the worst is we don't know Putin's ultimate goal. That's also scary because it's unlike him. Yeah, that's the multi-million-dollar question. What's his in his mind? What is the end game? That's terrifying to even think about. Philip says that go fuck yourself is right up there with the nuts that the 101st Airborne gave to the Germans, telling them they were surrounded at Bastogne. I think I remember that story, Philip. Yeah, I mean it is. It's no matter how many ways you slice it, and no matter what the motivation was for them saying it, that is the ultimate in badass ways to go out. Just saying, go fuck yourself. And what I love is he turned up the volume first. He wanted to make sure they all heard him when he told them to go fuck themselves. And what about the other? Did you guys hear about this? Let's see. No, I'm going the wrong place here. Hold on. I got stuff open all over the place. There's an article in the Mirror from the UK about a Ukrainian soldier who blew himself up to destroy a bridge and stop Russian forces. Excuse me, I'm paraphrasing, but from what I read in the story, they had charges on a bridge that the Russians had to cross, and there was a signal lost, so they couldn't detonate. So this young soldier said, I guess basically, and again I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly the article, said, tell mom and dad I love them type thing, and he said I'll go take care of it, and he went out on the bridge and he blew himself up with them to detonate them. ODV says who wrote it, who published it. You guys, you got to be more specific. ODV, are you talking about this one I was just talking about? This one, I told you who published that one, the Mirror, uh, in the UK. That's a news article from them. Skydormer says, can we put a VR headset on Putin when he's asleep that runs a simulation where he's conquered everything and super glue it to his head so he thinks he's won so he can get on with things? Yeah, wouldn't that be perfect? Hey, if he's as far gone as some of us think he might be, that might work. Chrome says, the federal government is shutting down another nuclear power plant in Florida because of climate change. So the U.S. is even more reliant on Russian energy now. I don't get it, Chrome. I don't get it. I've said with the technology we have now, nuclear is the way we should be powering things, but a lot of this stuff like that included is why I think you're going to see a big swing in Congress in the 2022 elections. Is there? Jedi Master Yoda says, Curtis, there's an interactive map with update markers on the invasion. I'll have to look that up. When we started the stream last, I had seen Russian forces had reached the outskirts of Kyiv. Yog says, a lot of Ukrainian people coming to us to seek shelter. We're letting in everyone we can. Unfortunately, every man between 18 and 60 is not allowed to leave the country. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yog, where are you from? Are you in Poland? Pizza Man says, strap some alligators on treadmills in Florida and make energy like that. Diddley says, I really think Putin is 80% sane, but even that's scary. That means 20% crazy. But his ego is insane. Narcissism seems to drive him. Yeah, I think that's something that him and Trump absolutely have in common. They're driven by ego. Yes, that I agree. But I think Putin's done a better job of controlling that, at least up till now. Oh, Hungary. Yeah. I see that the nations in that entire region have just been so accommodating and so welcoming, and it's really something that shouldn't be overlooked. What Poland's doing, what Hungary's doing, what everybody is doing. Chrome says the current speculation is the U.S. will have a 30 to 45 person flip from Democrat to conservative in the midterm. I believe that could well take place. I don't think things are going well at all for the Democrats, and I don't think this war is going to help a president, as wars tend to do, because he hasn't really done anything. And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he should have gone to war to try and stay in office. I'm not even suggesting that. It's just that the options that are out there, there's nothing he can do to make a big stand as president where everybody could rally around it. I don't think it's going to. And I do think there is a very significant number of people outside of just those hardcore Trumpers, a significant number of people, myself included, who believe that this may not have happened if Biden hadn't gotten into office. Flame Enforcer says, the problem is I can't see Biden outsmarting Putin. No, me either. As I say, that's why I truly, truly hope that it is the military minds that are going to make all the decisions on this going forward, and just let Biden be the mouthpiece. Multiflash says the Ukrainian government no longer allows male adults that would be capable of fighting to flee. Do you think that was the right decision? That's not for me to say. it certainly seems extreme. It certainly seems dire, but you can't get a more dire situation than this. That's not something I'd be, I'd even want to throw my opinion on. That's just not for me to say. Chrome says that's the conservative amount they think they'll flip. By the way, I believe it, Chrome. I just from what I'm seeing, I think it's going to be really bad for blue in 20. I was going to rhyme. Really bad for blue in 2022. um, Too many Republicans is scary too. ODV says, yeah, I don't think things ever work optimum when there are super majorities. I will agree with that. Joe says, doesn't Biden need to authorize nuclear launches defense systems? As far as I know, yes. That's why he carries the football with him at all times. I believe so. I If the president decides to authorize it, though, I don't know I don't believe there are a system of checks and balances other than military members are told to uphold the Constitution regardless of what a president says or does. That's the bugaboo. Lick says, "Oh please, even if there was a draft, the media would bend their asses backward trying to make Biden look like the good guy and blaming Trump or whoever the fuck." Yeah. Oh, they would. They would, but I don't think that would work because you're talking about people actually watching their sons and daughters go off. That's not going to work. Not in this day and age of social media and everything, because you're going to have people on both sides of the aisle. Then I don't care how liberal you are or how much you want to stand up for old Joe and everything he's done. When your son or daughter gets drafted out into a war zone and you don't believe, as I don't believe, it would be necessary because the war should be being fought technologically, then yeah, I don't think the media can do a damn thing about it. Pack says Democrats screwed up by abandoning nearly all progressive ideas. Had they passed literally anything that helped the majority of American workers, they'd have no issues in the midterm. Oh, I completely disagree with that. I don't know of any. Though the one thing I can say that I think hurt them a lot, but not enough to make a serious flip tax, was if Biden wasn't going to relieve some student debt, he shouldn't have looked at a camera and said he was explicitly going to do that. Now, he didn't tap dance. He didn't beat around the bush. He said, on day one, I know with an executive order, I can get rid of at least $10,000 in student debt, federal student debt for all people with outstanding loans, and I'm going to do that, and then just completely blew it off. I think that was the most damaging thing of all. You can't do that. You can't. Again, it's one thing if you say, "Hey, I'm going to look into it." You have my word. I'll look into it. Then you have the out of saying, "Well, I did look into it, and my advisors say I can't do that." He didn't say that. He said he was going to do it, and he knew that he could. And I think that hurt him with a lot of people. Pax says, "I don't think there will be a draft regardless." Me either. The U.S. military gets enough recruits by grooming poor high school students. Also, NATO will have more than enough manpower to fight Russia. Right. I don't necessarily agree with by grooming poor high school students. I mean, I know several young people, a lot of young people in our circumstances who joined and they weren't groomed. It was something they wanted to do since they were kids. In a lot of families, it's tradition. And that's, you have uncles and fathers, grandfathers, whatever, that were in the military. I don't think you need to be groomed to go into the military. That's kind of taking a stab at people who join saying, well, it's just because they were brainwashed. It's not true at all. A lot of people take a lot of pride in military service. I think that this point, if the conservatives do win a supermajority, they might actually forcefully remove Biden from office. It'll cause chaos, but honestly, it might be for the best. I don't think they can win a supermajority this time, Chrome. I don't think they can get to 60 in the Senate. I'd have to look at the Senate map again. But there are some places like here in New York where it it can be a teapot. If it's got a D on it, they're voting for it. So I don't think they can get a supermajority, but I think they're going to get a significant majority. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at the Senate map again, but I don't think that's really realistically in play. And that's the problem. Flame Enforcer says, and then we get Kamala. I will say this, Flame Enforcer. I think the Democrats were comfortable enough having Biden take the nomination because they felt in a pinch Kamala's right there behind him if they had to do something, and they got bit on the ass because I don't think the Democrats expected Kamala to be as wildly unpopular as she is. I mean, her approval ratings are always even below Joe's. Wow, really? Chrome says, according to the Hill, 62% of voters say Putin wouldn't have invaded if Trump was in office. That's why I think. That's why I think Biden doesn't get a bump from what typically happens in these circumstances. I tend to agree, and again, not because I think Putin is scared of Trump, because I think Putin understands that Trump is wildly unpredictable, and I don't think he would make this move having a U.S. president that he didn't feel like he could hone in on exactly what his reaction would be. I think he has Biden completely read. I think he knew exactly what Biden would do, and he did it. I don't think Putin cares. He doesn't care about sanctions because sanctions he can't be. They can put personal sanctions on him all he wants. Again, a lot of people believe that Putin is the richest man in the world. You can't hurt Vladimir Putin. You can hurt his people, but he doesn't care. It's not like he has to worry about re-election, because when the elections come up, he'll kill anybody that opposes him, and he's in again. And if that doesn't work, there's no transparency to their elections. He'll get his usual, what is it, 80 or 90% of the vote, and he'll go out there and wave and say, well, thank you, and people will go, God damn, I didn't think that many people voted for him. Vin says, I feel like this is going to get out of hand. I know it's already terrible, but still, I hope not, Vin. I hope not. Oh, shit. Svetlana says explosions in Kiev have started again already. Ah, shit. Let's see. Now, hold on. I'm trying to catch up with some things. The USA needs someone like Patton around Reagan. Yeah, and again, I told you guys I voted for Trump, but what I would like to see in 2024 is any of the leading Republicans besides Trump running. That would be my preference. Chrome says I need to check it again as well, but I know more Democrat candidates are retiring this year than in any year since '90s. That I know. Aren't most of them? I'm trying to remember. Aren't most of them in the House though, Chrome? I could be wrong. I thought most of all the retirements are in the House, not the Senate. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Pax says the Republicans' major issue is electing idiots who probably couldn't pass a basic civics test. Alabama senator literally called Russia a communist country invading Ukraine for farmland. Yeah. In fairness, there's a lot of ignorance on both sides. It stuns me sometimes the people that we elect. It stuns me the last two presidents we've elected, Pax. I mean, it's frightening. It really is. It really is. I don't know why I laugh because it's not fucking funny. Ma says Trump went went fucking ham on Syria, attacking Russia's ally, whereas Biden instantly removed any and all sanctions on Russia. Wonder why Putin doesn't take Biden seriously. Yeah, I will say this. I think Putin got the exact response from Biden he thought he would, and I think Putin had no idea what type of response he'd get from Trump. Excuse me, guys. ODV says y'all can disagree, but I'm pro Putin. You know that right to be. Listen, I told you guys, whether it's here or in the comment section, the only time people get kicked is if you're just spewing things that are strictly factually inaccurate, demonstrably factually inaccurate, or if you're just being a douchebag. calling people with puerile name calling or what have you. But as far as you're allowed to have any opinion you want to have, as long as you're willing to just state it as a matter of opinion and have a conversation about it. Chrome says that I need to check. I just know a lot of them don't really have replacements. Yeah, and like I say, Chrome, I haven't been keeping up on it as much lately, so there could be enough in the Senate to do it. I'm just trying to remember the Senate map. I don't think there was a chance for a supermajority, but yes, there have been several. There have been several retirements announced since I looked. The ones I can remember were in the House, but that doesn't mean there weren't some in the Senate too. Yes, we were talking about that earlier, Giggity Goo, the Ghost of Kiev. Still don't have confirmation on him, but I hope it's true just for the pure badassery of it. Sure, Dima, U.S. has had a lot of bad war moments too. Absolutely, we have. Kaloid says, well, of course Biden is predictable. He's going senile. Alexis, Biden as a whole, where his brain should be, the only thing he's capable of is sleeping and slowly dying during interviews. What the fuck are we even expecting from him? Yeah, I say, and I don't take any pride in recognizing that at all. Svetlana says, I condemn what Russia's doing right now, but I also condemn all the hypocrisy around black and white vision. I think I know what you mean, Svetlana. I think I know what you're saying. Pac says, did you hear the UN can't officially condemn Russia because Russia's Security Council president? Yeah, they vetoed it. Where somebody brought that in earlier, Pax. Russia vetoed the decision and China abstained, so they couldn't do it. And the thing of it is, Pax, too, like I said earlier, come on, why even bring it to the floor? You knew that was going to happen. It just looks stupid. You shouldn't even bothered. Because, yeah, Russia wasn't going to veto that. Jeremy says, I wonder what China has to say about this, although that's Russia's ally. Oh, yeah, what about the Martians? Well, that's what we said, Jeremy. I do think the Chinese-Russian alliance is very tenuous. I don't think it would take much to upset that alliance. I really don't. Oh, I just checked the time. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go. Thank you so much for this stream. I really enjoy, and we'll be having streams about this and other topical conversations regularly. I really enjoy these with you guys, and we get some great stuff in here. I appreciate everybody who took part, particularly those of you who are in the region and giving us insights into what exactly is going on. Svetlana, so many others, just telling us what the feelings are and getting it from people who are living it rather than filtered through our media outlets, which who knows when they're telling the truth and when they're not. So this is really cool. And while this is going on, we'll be streaming about this regularly. We'll be streaming other topical stuff as well. I will be posting some of these streams over to my name's gone right on my head, my other video account as well. But guys, thank you for this. I really had, it's always a really, and I mean this sincerely, educational time talking with all of you, and I appreciate it. And we'll talk again really soon.